Hey everybody, my name is Mike Richter, and today I will be talking to you about performing a business discovery workshop with your customers to help unlock some AI opportunities and workloads. I'm a partner solution architect in Microsoft's Global Partner Solutions in the Americas region. And the discovery workshops I'm going to talk about are based on some other, I would say, larger efforts to do discovery workshops within Microsoft. So I kind of picked the best parts of them to help build this workshop. And it's workshops that we have run with our partners and with them and their customers over the past few years. And a lot of what I'll talk about will seem obvious and seem very familiar to our partners who are consultants who help their customers with their business challenges. But let's go through it, and you also see what is Microsoft specific about it. In this webinar, we're going to help set you up as a Microsoft partner to run these business discovery workshops. I'll talk about the process for qualifying customers for the workshop, how you prepare for these workshops, and then how you deliver the workshops. I'll also give you some tips and tricks on how to make it an effective workshop. And I want to also explain what you should capture from the workshop and a way to format that output. And then I'll also describe how this workshop aligns with MCEM, which is Microsoft's sales process. So when we talk about this workshop, what we're really trying to do is unlock opportunities for innovation, specifically AI, but all up innovation. And the output of these workshops is going to be something called the innovation map. And that is going to help customers see how they can achieve their business priorities or innovation priorities with our Microsoft Cloud capabilities. So when I talk about innovation, what am I talking about? Well, in the partner team, we have a specific definition of innovation. We want to add new capabilities that enable our customer to have the outcomes that they need so they can deliver the business value that they want, right? So just think about that. We're helping our customers to develop a new capability so they can get the outcomes that they need for the business value that they want. So how do these business discovery workshops align with the Microsoft customer engagement methodology? Well, they really align with the first two steps. These workshops can uncover opportunities and can kind of be reused at all the different steps in MCEM, but they really align to listen, consult, and inspire in design. So let's look at these activities, right? So when it comes to listen and consult, as you perform these business discovery workshops with Microsoft customers, you should definitely sync with the Microsoft account team to kind of let them know what you are working on and also get their feedback and input on what the customer's AI and innovation priorities are. Another activity in M7 is to obviously meet with the customer to listen and understand, right? That is basically the heart of the workshop, right? This key activity in listen and consult. And then you want to qualify an opportunity. You want to make sure that the customer is not just doing an AI science experiment, that they're just not engaged in the hype around AI, but they have an actual real opportunity to deliver a business outcome, to deliver value for their end users, for their end customers. Then, when it comes to an inspire and design, many activities in that step are aligned to this workshop, right? First, you want to confirm the solution plays, right? As you know, Microsoft kind of every year has solution areas and solution plays that we ask our field sellers to go engage on. So, what comes out of this workshop should align to one of those solution plays. You want to find the stakeholders in your customer who have a vested interest in AI or the innovation that you're going to unlock. You want to capture the needs, right? Why do we need this innovation? You want to capture the customer value. What is this AI going to produce for us? You also want to understand what the customer needs to see in terms of a case study or what learning or trainings that they need so they can skill up with AI. And you also want to identify some potential programs or investments that you might make or that Microsoft might make to help make sure that this is successful. And then you want to finalize and present the solution and business case. And that's that innovation map that I talked about right up front. It's kind of a template, and I'll show you in this deck, and the link to that template will all be available. But that is kind of a way to present the business case back to the customer and to Microsoft. So these are all activities a lot in MCEM, and by performing this workshop, you can do that, and that will make sellers very happy because they could take the output of what you get from these workshops and insert them into our CRM. So the workshop has value to the customer and to Microsoft and to you. All right, so what are your tasks for the workshop, right? You want to make sure the customer's ready. You want to deliver the workshop as partner. You want to develop that strategy, that business plan or that innovation map or business discovery map. And you, ideally, if there are important, interesting things that you learn, share those insights back with Microsoft. Uh, Another way to think about this, they're your tasks, but these are your responsibilities. As a partner performing these workshops, you want to really partner with the MCAPS organization, whether that's us in GPS, the partner team, the account team, the specialists, or customer success. Whoever is engaged with that customer, do your best to partner with them so that you get all the context, you're aware of what the customer is looking to do, and that will help you have a more effective workshop. You also need to understand the Microsoft Cloud capabilities. While AI will probably live in the Azure world, you might uncover opportunities for building something with M365 Copilot, and that might be in modern work, right? Or there might be an opportunity to leverage data that lives in Dynamics or through the Power Platform, right? And that lives in business apps. So just be aware generally of the Microsoft Cloud capabilities when you're having these workshop conversations with the customer. So obviously you want to uncover the customer's innovation priorities through the workshop discussions, and we'll get into that when we talk about conducting the workshop. And you want to build that plan, that innovation map, right? You also want to find what are the next steps coming out of the workshop. And then again, any insights that you learn and that you and your customer are willing to share with Microsoft, we would love to hear about. So here is the business discovery workshop. I've divided it into 5 different phases. The first 2 are aligned specifically to listen and consult, and the last 3 are part of inspire and design. And we'll as we get into each section, we'll talk more about each section. I also want you to be aware that you can work with GPS as you deliver these business discovery workshops. So you could bring in the GPS tech team, which I'm on. We could deliver training or practice sessions. We have some case studies from the innovation workshops and from other trainings that the innovation workshop is built on. And we are happy to collaborate with you to deliver these workshops. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about qualifying a customer for one of these business discovery workshops. And that's the first pillar here, the first phase of these workshops, and it's really the simplest. We when the customer to qualify for the workshop, the customer should be a managed Microsoft customer. Um, and it doesn't matter at what level they're managed, as long as they have an account rep, they're managed. And then also, is the customer ready to perform the innovation workshop? Are they ready to really get into talking about the business outcomes and their business priorities that they think innovation and AI will unlock for them? Um, So when we talk about qualifying a customer, just to dig in a little bit deeper, right? We want to start with some existing business idea that the customer has, right? And then help them build a plan to realize that idea, right? We want to build solutions with the customer, not necessarily go on an expedition to find new problems to solve. And I'll get into what I mean about that in just one second. So, and also remember, this is not a fishing expedition. We're not looking to say, hey, let's try something out with AI, or let's build a Copilot integration, right? Or how can we vectorize your data and do vector searches? It's not about leading with technology. We really want this workshop to reveal the customer's business priorities, the outcomes they want to produce, and then really after the workshop, do we map that back to Microsoft cloud capabilities? And if we get a customer in our preparation who say, well, we really don't know what the problems are, everything is great, then we're probably not talking to the right people, because every company is going to be aware of where they need to grow, where they need to innovate, what problems they're facing, what challenges that they have. So, before I said we're not here to find new problems, and when you think about technique in design thinking, there's this double diamond metaphor, which is first we're going to go out and look for problems to solve, and we'll kind of crowdsource that, and we'll put those problems into buckets, and then we'll figure out, okay, now how are we going to go solve those problems? So in this case, we're not interested in that first part, right? This is meant to be a workshop that's a couple hours, a half day. We're not here to go find problems. We're going to make an assumption that the customer already has problems, they already have challenges, they already have ideas they want to go explore. Our idea here now is to figure out what those are and then think about, okay, how can we solve that with Microsoft Cloud? So it's not kind of an art of the possible. It's not a brainstorming, a creative exercise. We want the customers to come to this workshop ready to talk about specific things. They may be fuzzy, they may not be sure, they may not know how to articulate the business value yet. That's great. We'll figure that out during the workshop. But the workshop is not just some pie in the sky exercise. Cool. So once we've qualified that we have a customer that is ready to engage with us, how we're going to land this workshop with them, right? And that's the next phase right here. So we want to pitch this business discovery workshop. We want to introduce the concept to the customer. We want to find the decision makers, whether that's business decision makers, ideally, or the technical decision makers. Depending on the size of the organization, we might be going after the C-suite to get them to agree to participate in the workshop. Um, there are ways you can do this. You obviously are partners working with customers, especially if they're existing customers. So you already have relationships, right? Try to leverage maybe your IT relationships to bring in the business leaders, right? Because that's really who we're trying to target with this with these workshops is what are the business problems we're going to go solve, and how does technology help solve that. And then like I said, technical leaders should definitely participate as well, but ideally we get those business leaders. So here's an agenda for pitching the workshop, right? So ideally we're talking to those business leaders, right? We want to maybe do a brief session where we talk about what is the business discovery workshop? What are we going to do during the workshop? And really, what we want to do is get some areas of focus, right? We want to try to capture at least two. Like I said, we want the customers to be able to bring some idea, some problem, some challenge, some threat that they have that really need to address, and they're not sure maybe all the details. That's fine, but we want at least two of these because that's going to be important later on when we try to prioritize these opportunities. Having only one thing to talk about, it's hard to prioritize that one thing. But if we have multiple areas of focus to discuss, then we can prioritize them, and one might be the clear thing that we go do, and that would increase the likelihood that the customer actually pursues the AI innovation. All right. So, what can customers expect from a workshop? Well, one thing is we're going to help, or you, the partner, are going to help them identify some business outcomes and priorities that they are going to want AI to help them with, right? And really, I hope we are able to align the customers, business and technical leaders around Microsoft Cloud, right? So the business leaders say this is the problem. We're going to help show them how Microsoft Cloud can get there. We get the technical people on board, and then we have a nice alignment there. And I think that will also increase the likelihood that the project moves forward. The customer should also get some nice deep dive into the technical capabilities that they'll need to achieve they'll need to achieve the outcomes, and then they'll get this detailed business plan of action in the innovation map or the business discovery map. All right. So, what are your goals for the workshop? Right. You want to help the partners identify, sorry, you want to help the customers identify their innovation needs and prioritize them. You really want to understand what those priorities are, what outcomes they want to drive for what business value. And then it's also important to leave the workshop with the right sponsorship, right? Who are the business decision makers? Who are the executives that are aligned to this to make sure that we are successful with the engagement? So here are some suggested roles that can participate in the workshop, right? Obviously, the C-suite, all the important executives or business decision makers from the customer side. From your side, you'll want to bring in your client executive that works with that customer, your technical strategists that might be aligned to the customer. You also want to bring your practice area leads around the Microsoft Cloud, any industry SMEs that might be relevant. So if we're talking to a customer in financial services or talking to one in healthcare, do we have the right industry SMEs on the call there? And then from Microsoft, these are all optional, but you can invite the account executive or the ATS on the account. You can invite anyone in the STU or the CSU that are aligned to that customer. And then if you've got a PTS, You can also bring in PTS. You could also bring in an architect like me to help with the conversation. And this could be useful when you're not sure where the conversation may go with a customer, and you have, let's say, your Azure person and you have a data person, but you think it may go into modern work, or you think there's an opportunity that it might go into business apps, and you don't have a lead in that area. That's where Microsoft can help supplement the team on your side for performing the workshop. All right, so here's just some tips for landing the workshop. Yeah, I won't get into all of this now, but you can review these in the deck. So now let's talk about preparation for the workshop. All right. So when we're preparing for the workshop, like I said, you want to have a briefing session where ahead of the workshop you talk to the customers. You make sure you nail down the dates and times and location, and will it be over Microsoft Teams or virtually another way, right? You also want to get those areas of focus I mentioned before. And you may want the customer to provide you a brief presentation about them and what their priorities are, right? And that might also give you kind of a sense of what their headspace is when it comes to AI and innovation. And then you also want to use all that information to do some pre-work, right? To do some research, right? So there are lots of ways to do research, right? And one of them is we encourage you to reach out to Microsoft, to GPS, to all the different MCAPS organizations to learn as much as you can about this customer and what they're doing with Microsoft Cloud already, right? To see what up to the limits of what we can share, obviously, but just get a sense from us what's going on with the customer. That will give you some good context. And then, of course, I'm sure you are aware, there is a lot of external information, right? And companies nowadays will tell you a lot about themselves, what's important to them, what priorities, what their strategy is, what important initiatives they have. They put that on their LinkedIn, on their social media. But there's lots of resources that you can find. There's Dun& and Bradstreet. There's a ton. So make sure you're going into these workshops really understanding who the customer is, where they've been, and ideally where they want to go. Once you've done all that research, you could build something we call the business discovery profile, right? Where you pull together all this information and you could share that with everyone on the team going into this workshop, right? So not everyone has to do all the research. Whoever does the research, make sure that you share that with everyone at the partner who will be doing this workshop. All right, so let's get into it. So let's talk about actually performing the workshop, right? This is the core of the of what the workshop is, and we have lots of guidance here. But yeah, we'll work through it, and there's a lot of interesting ideas that I might move through in the interest of time. You can review the deck, but like I said, a lot of these come from consulting practices, from design thinking. So a lot of this will already be familiar to you from work you've already done with your customers. All right, so here is the agenda for the workshop. We'll kick off the workshop. We'll have the core conversations, the business value, and customer outcomes discussions, which I'll kind of get into in a minute, and then prioritization discussion. What we've turned those areas of focus that they want to talk about into opportunities for innovation in AI. How do we then prioritize them? And then we'll finish the workshop with next steps. Here is a workflow to visualize the workshop. So we spend about 10 minutes doing the kickoff introductions. Here's the bathroom, here's when lunch is coming, etc. And then I think it would make sense to spend about 45 minutes per topic area, right? So this is where we really get into, okay, you said we need to grow internationally, right? Or we're being disrupted by new cloud startups, or we really need to build an AI assistant to help our customers learn more about our products, whatever topic area the customers have prepared us for. This is the time to talk about it, right? And we do that by asking questions and really digging in. And I'll get into that a little bit later on. And for every topic area we kind of do this over and over again. So if we come to the workshop with two topic areas or three topic areas, right? We would do this two or three times, right? And through learning, consulting, active listening, questions, understanding, we go from topic area to innovation identified, right? So this is the core of the workshop, right? And then towards the end, once we say, okay, we found a few innovations that we can go pursue, let's prioritize them, right? That's a simple exercise of putting them on a level of effort versus value type of a matrix. And then we'll wrap up the workshop with next steps. So let's dive into each of these. Let's dive into the kickoff. Like I said, introductions, why are we here, right? And I think it's important to emphasize that this is not a sales pitch, right? This is not, we're really, the partner, you guys are just here to really understand, well, what does the customer need? How can AI help them? You really want to understand their business, what they care about, what they're worried about, right? And we're not here to push Microsoft Cloud or any technology yet, right? Because we don't even know what will be the right technology until we have this really deep understanding. So let's now talk about, so we kicked off, now let's talk about the heart of the workshop, which is this business value customer outcomes discussion, right? We're going to map the strategic area of focus that they told us about to the desired customer outcomes they want to produce. We're going to map those customer outcomes to the right business pillar that we talk about, that I will talk about in a couple minutes. We also want to talk about the financial impact and key performance indicators that we'll use to track the progress, right? So um, when we look at making an investment in innovation or in AI, there has to be a business justification for that. There has to be a financial impact. Are we going to save a lot of money? Are we going to make a lot of money? Right? Are we doing this to stay competitive? Right? So what are the KPIs? What is the financial impact? Right? I think it's important that we identify that and make sure that, again, that this is not a science project, but this is a real opportunity, a real business opportunity for the customer. And then we also want to identify who are the executive sponsors, right? It's been my experience that if we don't have sponsorship, if we don't have leaders at these companies, it's very hard to get the investment, to get the time, to get the people to move things forward. And so we really need to identify upfront who is going to be sponsoring uh, these innovations. So we get into it. We get into the business discovery discussion. The customer brings their topic area, and the partner and Microsoft, if we're there, we start to ask questions, right? So this is the gear in the middle, the innovation gear in the middle. That's where we're doing the work, right? We're grinding on, we're asking the customers questions, right? Where you see all these methods right here, which I'll kind of get into really quickly. But you see, we have all these techniques for really getting from the customer what they need for their business, why they need it, why they think it's a priority, other things they looked at, just really understanding from all dimensions everything about this topic area so that we understand it, we feel it, and it makes sense why we're going to pursue it. So, and by the end of that discussion for that topic area, right, I think we should have clarity on why it's important. Like I said, right, you as partner understand the strategy, the financial impact, KPIs, how we're going to, yes, we want to do this innovation, and here's how we're going to measure whether it's successful or not. And then we also want to make sure that the customer believes that you guys can help them, right? That they, and I think they will because they're going to be sharing with you. You're going to be asking all these questions. I think if we do this right, the customer will say, "Wow, this partner now really understands why we need to build AI into our products, into our services. They really understand it, and they are in a good position to help us now." And then we want them to feel motivated, like, "Wow, this is great. We share all this, and it makes sense to the partner. It makes sense to us. Let's go do this." Right? We want to create some excitement and motivation to move forward. So just to give you an idea of what a good customer outcome would look like, right? We want that to be something measurable. We want it to be relevant for their business. We want it to be expressed that is in a language that's familiar to the customer, right? So not in Microsoft speak. We want it to be, we don't want to talk about how much ACR this AI is going to drive, right? That's not important, obviously. I get, the less amount of ACR as possible is probably what's important for the customer. But for now, we want to make sure that we hear from the customers in their own language what a good customer outcome is. And here's some customer outcomes from previous trainings that have happened and workshops that have gone on. So these are customer outcomes, and we want to map those to one of the four value pillars, right? So when we think about anything that a company might make an investment in, and right, there's probably four things that they are focused on, right? One is growing revenue, saving money, doing a digital transformation, transforming their business, or like a risk mitigation, right? There's a challenge, there's a new compliance rule, there's a new disruption happening in their industry. So these are kind of the four kind of big buckets that explain what value and innovation is going to drive, right? And when we think about why value is so important to customers, well, every IT project or software investment requires a business case before gaining approval, right? And not a lot of customers have a real internal capability to build the business case, right? So you can imagine the frustration of businesses need technology, but they don't have a great capability for explaining why. Well, that's what this workshop is going to help them produce, right? Especially the business discovery map or the innovation map that we get at the end that you'll be providing back to the customer. That right there is that business case that will help us gain approval. So when we think about taking value across an organization, it's important to really try to elevate the value conversation, right? So when we look at this pyramid here, we really want to elevate the value conversation in terms of if the innovation or the AI that the customer is interested in is described as, well, it's going to save our people 10 minutes a day, so they don't have to enter in this information. That is not as great of a story as we kind of roll that up and say, well, if we save everyone 10 minutes a day and we have 1,000 employees and we say we pay them $100 an hour, right? So at the end of the year, we're saving millions of dollars, right, in wasted labor, right? When we get spending, we everyone gets that 10 minutes back, and now they can focus that on closing deals or improving their products, whatever, right? That becomes a much more compelling argument. So during this conversation, we really want to help elevate the value conversation to find out what is the final financial impact. How will this innovation drive actual business impact and help us meet the KPIs, right? And so this slide is another great slide that kind of talks about the same thing, right? How do we talk about how this is going to improve the way our workers or customers function, the functional things they do, and turn that into actual real benefits, right? And so we want to make sure that what we're talking about is going to be compelling from a ROI perspective as well, right? Now, obviously, we're only going to spend a few hours. We're not going to bring out the spreadsheets. We're not going to look at the ERP systems, right? And so, but we should get a good feel, right, for is AI going to really make us more successful here financially, right? Implementing an AI system, going to the cloud, using these Microsoft cloud capabilities will come with a cost, but will the value that they generate really eclipse that cost? That is something I don't know if you'll have time or the right people or be able to kind of solve in the workshop, but you want everyone kind of feeling that yes, right, it's kind of that making these investments will see the right ROI coming out of them, right? So this slide is great. I took from another training called our Customer Business Outcomes Workshop Training, and it all talks about how we move customers out of their comfort zone and help them really identify what they need to change for really great value, right? So you can go through this and look at it. But basically, when a customer comes, they may only be thinking about the needs that they're aware of and the maybe the capabilities that they think they can produce. And it's really our job here to really help them think about the unconsidered needs, right? And they say, well, we might need to make more money, but we may also say, yeah, but you need to make sure that by going after these larger customers to make more money, that you are meeting with compliance requirements and you're delivering the security that they need, right? And that's where Microsoft Cloud can help, right? Or they might say, well, we want to make more money. Um, but they're only aware of a specific channel, right, that they do that from. And so maybe we could leverage our experience working in their industry, working with other customers, say, but if you added all these other channels, right, these unconsidered capabilities, you can make even more money, right? So by helping to bring unconsidered needs and unconsidered capabilities, we're really adding value to the conversation. All right. And then, in some ways, then when we're doing our strategy, and we can get into this in the workshop, but this might really be more for the strategy session, we kind of elevate the value conversation. We get into strategic levels. And then we want to bring that back down to, okay, what are the functional capabilities we need to implement this, right? Where can the Microsoft Cloud help us, right? So um, this kind of gives you a sense for how we go from there back to the functional capabilities, and that's what you'll do later after the workshop to build the innovation map. So here are some questions you can use during the workshop to help understand. I'm not going to go through all this, but these are just great tips and tricks, design thinking techniques to really get insights from your customer to really understand uh, the innovation that they want to build. Here are questions for business stakeholders. The 5 whys is a very popular technique. 6W method for asking the right questions. So these are all techniques, right? Anyway, these are all techniques for running the business outcomes and value discussion. Now let's pivot to the last part, or the almost last part of the workshop, which is the prioritization discussion, right? We want to put each of these priorities in a matrix, right, where we measure the level of effort versus the impact or value that this innovation is going to drive, right? And obviously, right, we want to help the partners with, we want to help the customers with whatever AI or innovation that they want to pursue if we feel that will drive the outcomes they want for the right value a lot, that's aligned to KPIs that will have a financial ROI, all those things that we just discussed. Um, and they should, right? Ideally, nothing really lands in this money pit area, right? Something that's going to take a lot of work and low impact. I don't think the customer should really pursue. I don't think you want to pursue, So really, let's try to focus here, right? And then it all depends on the timeline and the resources available. And this is a conversation you have with the customer to figure out, okay, here's how we've mapped the different innovations. Let's figure out what makes sense to go tackle right now. And again, this is why I say we should have more than one topic area during the workshop, because if we just have one, it's hard to see without it being related to another what its actual priority is. So here's another way to kind of look at it: difficulty versus importance. It's the same kind of idea. So here are a bunch of places you can go learn about Microsoft Cloud capabilities that might help you with these conversations. I think it's really important to be prepared, to be aware of Microsoft Cloud capabilities. You ideally will not get into that during the conversation. You won't really get into Microsoft Cloud. The whole workshop conversation is for you to learn how can AI help them with their business? How can they innovate their business? But being aware of Microsoft Cloud capabilities, right? Having in the back of your mind, this sounds like an opportunity for Copilot. This sounds like an opportunity for Azure OpenAI, right? Or this doesn't sound like an OpenAI opportunity, but it does sound like an opportunity for them to train new AI models on their own data, right? So you want to be aware of what they can do in the Microsoft Cloud. And here are just some links to help you with that awareness. All right. There are additional things you can do with us, with the GPS team, right? If coming out of this conversation, the customers never heard maybe of Copilot Studio, and how can they get started with that? Well, maybe we'll have an envisioning briefing, right? Or maybe they said, you know what, we should train our own models for AI, but we don't even know where to start. We don't know what tools make sense. Let's have technical skills enablement. Or they say, you know what, we have some ideas. We would just love to kind of get hands on, right, and train our data scientists or train our developers on your tools. Let's do a hackathon, right? Or we do kind of know, we know what the innovation map is and everything. Why don't we bring in a Microsoft expert or two for an architecture design session to help us really move things forward? So please always remember that we are here to help you and your customer. Also be aware of different Microsoft programs and integrations that might make sense, especially if this end customer of yours is a software company. They may want to participate in ISV Success. They may want to get their solution in Azure Marketplace, just like you co-sell with us. If they're an ISV, they may want to co-sell with us as well, right? Think about how you can leverage different parts of the Microsoft ecosystem, right? Making connectors for Entra ID or Microsoft Teams, right? Having these AI show up in Power Platform, Microsoft Teams, and then also be aware that you might hear something that the customer says that maybe there doesn't seem to be the right solution for with Microsoft yet, but maybe there's a private preview coming, right? Or maybe engineering has a way to support us, right? And what are the roadmaps for all these different AI and innovation technologies in Azure? Maybe there's something coming down the pike that might spark the customer's interest. All right, so we've done our workshop, the core of the workshop. What are the next steps? The last few minutes we'll summarize what we've learned in the workshop, confirm any follow-up discussions. You may find that the workshop creates an opportunity for have multiple discussions, and they may say, "Oh, you should really talk to this person here or there," right? So let's not lose those opportunities. Let's confirm all that and get those scheduled or plan to schedule them. If there were any parking lot items that came up that you started going down a rabbit hole, and you're like, what, let's parking lot this. Make sure that that's clear and have a plan for addressing those. And again, any insights that you learn, please capture them. And if there's anything you felt would be valuable for Microsoft or the partner organization to know, share those with us. All right, so we're done with the business discovery workshop. Let's talk about the strategy, right, going forward, right, and that's really building the innovation map. And when we think about that, um, here is the timeline, right? The, the business discovery workshop can be a few hours, half day, but then you spend a few days going over what you heard and coming up with a strategy for addressing that. And you may have to have some follow-up conversations, right? But in the end, you come up with an innovation map document. Right. So here are some steps that you can do, which I kind of just talked about at a high level, right? You can have follow-up conversations, consult internally, consult with Microsoft, right? Come up with that document, which I'll provide the link to a template for that, and then of course verify that with the customer, right? Validate all your assumptions, make sure we all understood everything that was said in the workshop, right? And just kind of get some sign off from the customer that yes, right? These were the business priorities, the outcomes, the value we want to generate, and we see here that yes, you've come up with a plan on how to do that with the Microsoft Cloud. So just for your awareness, here's our FY24 solution area taxonomy. Here are our industry. Here's our industry taxonomy, and now that innovation map, which I've talked to many times, right? You can think of that as being three pillars. One is what is the customer innovation, right? What is the business value, the outcomes they want to produce, the priorities. Then you think about, okay, what are the controls around this innovation, right? Who's the sponsor? What are the resources involved? How are we going to measure the success, right? I call those all the controls around the innovation. And then we map those to the Microsoft Cloud, which capabilities, right? What programs might make sense, and what activities can be done. Hackathon, architecture design session, a proof of concept, and so on. All right, here's the link to that template. It's just a Word document. It's just got a lot of forms filled in. You can check that out here. And, and then, all right, after the workshop is complete, right, you're going to want to um, do a quick recap of the workshop. You want to then do a detailed workshop summary, recommend next steps, schedule your follow up, right? Complete the business discovery or innovation map, and sync with the appropriate teams on the Microsoft side. And then ideally, we have real, interesting, not science projects, real projects to go execute, right? And when you sync with the Microsoft account teams, they'll enter those in as qualified opportunities in CRM, and they'll support you. So I think delivering these workshops gives us everything we need for a great, impactful, meaningful set of innovative AI projects that we can pursue with our customer. All right. Thank you so much. I know there was a lot of material to cover, but that's the Business Discovery Workshop. And of course, feel free to reach out to me or the GPS team if you have any questions or if you want to collaborate with us. Thanks.